Hi everyone and welcome to episode 13 of our ConfigMas 2022. My name is Johan and in this demo you will learn how to automate virtual machines in Hyper-V using PowerShell. Now, PowerShell is a fantastic platform to build great automated solutions, but it's equally great in just getting the job done quickly as well. If you start, instead of clicking around 30 minutes in a console, you run a few PowerShell commands to achieve the same result, in time you will build up a good library of commands that you use that eventually can very well turn out to be in a solution as well. In my opinion, the best way to learn PowerShell is to start using it. And in this demo, I hope to inspire you to get going. That means demo time. In the previous episode, I showed you a downright great PowerShell script, a solution. And when you see scripts like that, you kind of it's easy to get a little bit intimidated or just downright scared, because that script is it's a 2,000-line script. It has proper sections for the introduction or the beginning of the script, good examples, good version history in the script, obviously been developed over time, many years. If you scroll down through the script, you will see things like, sure, there is a ton of functions created, in this case a logging function. You will see there is a lot of try-catch, meaning error handling. And this is not something you put together in 5 minutes. This is long time scripting, or scripting over many hours. I rather propose that you start with something more simple. For example, this script that I use to force synchronizations of multiple machines that I have in Intune. Connect to Microsoft Graph. Get, for example, all devices that belongs to a specific category, in this case ViaMonstra lab machines. Now I have a bunch of devices. I can show the device count. Or I can say, hey, give me all devices that begins with this prefix. So run that line. I will have these devices. There will be 22 of them. And for each of these devices, I can run a sync. And by the way, you will find links to these scripts just below the video here. But this is just a simple example on where you can run scripts interactively or commands interactively just to get some particular job done. Now, if I go over to one of my other machines, for example, this one here. Here is a few examples of traditional remote PowerShell, or basically we are running commands on remote machines. So in this case, I have a little snippet that just gives me an array of machines. If I check that array, you can see that, sure enough, there is 9 VMs or 9 servers in this one. If I run this command here, it will run on each of these machines and simply get me the disk space. This one here will get me their memory configuration. And this line here will configure them to use a specific KMS host. And this totally beats remoting into each and every of these machines and run the same command or do the same configuration in whatever tool that you happen to use. Now, if you go over to one of my Hyper-V hosts here, not that one, but this one here, I have a bunch of virtual machines running. And a cool thing about PowerShell these days is that starting with Server 2016 and Windows 10 16.07, you can use something called PowerShell Direct. And that is basically using the Hyper-V VM bus to connect to the virtual machines so you can actually do some automation with them. And that you can do even without having a network connection to them. As long as you have access to the Hyper-V host, you can do a lot of automation anyway. Quick example. Here I have a little PowerShell script that gets all VMs that begins with that name from my host. If I run that, sure enough, these are my VMs. And in this case, I have a little snippet that loops through each and every VM and just outputs, in this case, settings for delivery optimization, because the scenario here is I simply wanted to review what settings these particular virtual machines had in the environment. Gonna abort that, don't need it now. Could be another scenario where you want to copy things to a virtual machine. Could be a tool, could be a script, could be something that you want to have available. Same story here. In this case, I have a target folder that I specify. That's the target inside of the VMs. I have the same array of virtual machines, but this time I'm using a built-in commandlet for Hyper-V, copy VM file, to copy, in this case, psexec over to the target folder in every machine. And if I go to one of the machines here, number 1, or DA Intune 01, you can see there is currently no sysinternals folder. Sure enough, there is a sysinternals suite folder, but not just sysinternals. So if I run this snippet here, it will now copy that file to each and every VM, and sure enough, I get the sysinternals folder here, and I get the file here. This becomes more interesting, I think, when, let me just abort this one. I'm happy for now. Gonna ping that virtual machine, and I can't ping it. If I go to my network settings, this machine is not even connected. And even though this one was not connected, the other ones are, but this one is not. I can still copy files to it, because I'm not copying it over the network, I am copying it over the VM bus. In the same thing, I can, if I want, I can establish a session to that virtual machine. So I can do enter ps session. In this case, I'm going to use this one here. Specify my credentials. And I'm now connected to that virtual machine through the VM bus. If I do a host name, you can very well see that I'm on that virtual machine. If I do an ipconfig, it will sure enough tell me that there is no IP address on this machine. I don't have a network, yet I'm connected to it. Other things you can use this for is to get information in and out of virtual machine. The copy VM file command can only copy stuff from the source, or meaning from the Hyper-V host, into the VM, but not the other way around. But you can copy files through a PS session as well. So if I head over to my machine here and go to this script here. So what I have running on this Hyper-V host is a few virtual machines that I deployed. So AP test 205 to 209. I'm building an array with those names because I want to work with those VMs. I'm setting some variables to scripts and things I'm going to use later. I'm making sure that stuff exists in place where they should be. Just the basic error handling. And then I want to get some inventory information about these guys. So for each virtual machine, I'm getting some info by running various PowerShell commands. Export it out to this file here. If I open that file in Excel, let's see. This one here. I just use a little PowerShell snippet to get me some inventory of the machines I'm working with. This loop here will copy the Autopilot script to the VMs using copy VM file once again. So this is a Microsoft script that is used to gather the Autopilot hardware hash. So I'm copying that to each and every machine. I run the script to gather the Autopilot hash. And I'm outputting that format or outputting that information right now to the VMs themselves because I wanted to show you something else. And then this script here, or this snippet here, again for each and every VM, will now copy item from within the session over to this folder here. So if I go to that folder, which is this folder here, you can see it's quite empty. If I run this section here, it will now copy the files from each VM over to that folder. I have the 5 CSV files, each and every one holding a hash. I can use this snippet here to combine them into one for easy upload. And now I have a CSV file with all the machines, and I can upload that to Intune. I can do that through PowerShell, continue to develop my scripts, or I can do it in the GUI, but I just saved some time by running a lot of operations very quickly against an array of machines. That's all for today. I hope this will give you a little bit of inspiration. Hope to see you again tomorrow for the next episode. Until then, have a great rest of your day. Goodbye for now.